there's just a practical reality that when you get dressed, it personally impacts the energy that you bring.
Really helping men and women show up in the best way they can and focusing on that word image because the clothes are truly just the cherry on top. It's all about your image.
Like it or not, how we present ourselves matters. How we show up changes the first impression someone has of us. And so today I am so excited to have on my friends Laura and Jack from Shine Image Consulting. They, I think, are going to bring some really interesting, maybe controversial to some of you, not to me, controversial thoughts on why image matters, why the way you dress and present yourself matters to make a great first impression. I thought this was a great way to finish off our first impressions series. So please welcome Laura and Jack. Okay, so I'm very excited to have my friends from Shine Image with us today, Laura and Jacqueline. If you all want to just introduce yourselves, share a little bit about what you do, how you got started.
Oh, Cass, it's so good to be here. Thank you for inviting us. Oh gosh, a little bit about us. So we always like to start first. We're best friends. We met in corporate America, gosh, like 15, 16, 17 years ago. It's a blur. And we worked in we'll say the dark side of finance. Well, not really dark side, but it felt like the dark side, corporate life. And frankly, we bonded over all things fashion and supporting women. And it really inspired, I would say, the impetus of developing and starting Shine.
Nice. Yes, we loved fashion in a very conservative financial environment where there was a lot of gray and brown and black. And navy was like the corporate uniform. So Laura and I would try to, I think, build in some of our personality with what we would wear to work. And we'd get excited when our favorite retailers would release like new workwear. One of the reasons we left was to start Shine was because we saw in our combined 35 years of corporate America, a lot of men and women who had a ton of skill and they would come to the table, but maybe were missing something when it came to their image, whether that was self-confidence or self-esteem, or truthfully, the way that their outfit, the way they showed up, which could maybe inhibit them or lose their credibility. So for Laura and I, it was like, how do we take our love of fashion and our passion for fashion and combine that with really helping men and women show up in the best way they can and focusing on that word image because the clothes are truly just the cherry on top. It's all about your image. That's the way that relationships form. That's the way business gets done, is that people want to work with someone that they like. That is just the reality of business and personal relationships being successful.
So let's start with the basics. How do clothes and let's say just grooming in general, how do they contribute to first impressions and why does it matter?
I think we can probably use ourselves as an example. Laura, I can start off if you want to take over. I'm going to take us back to 2020, which I know was, an amazing year for everybody. I'm definitely joking. So 2020, it caused, all of us to take a pause. Laura and I specifically and personally, we went from traveling, being in front of clients face to face, doing big presentations. All of a sudden that just stops and we are home in front of a laptop. And the first few weeks are like, oh, this is great. Like I can, sleep in a little bit and I get to hang out with my family. I get to pet my dog. But the word complacency comes to mind when I think about how I acted. And I know Laura has had similar experiences. It was like, okay, I don't need to get up and get dressed every day. So I'm just going to roll out of bed and put on my pajamas and put on a blazer and put my hair in a ponytail and be on conference calls all day, right? Like this is the life. I remember even one day after, this was probably like 3 or 4 weeks of doing this, I said to my husband after a long day, I said, okay, I'm going to go get in my pajamas. And he was like, aren't you in your pajamas? And I was like, oh my gosh. But he was absolutely right. Like I had stopped putting effort into showing up because I was just like, well, who cares? I'm on video. I'm doing my job. And I don't think I realized the way that it was affecting my self-esteem. I used to lay out my outfits each day. I used to get really excited about like, oh, I'm going to wear this new blazer or this new pair of like leopard shoes. It went from like that to just sweat every second of every day. And frankly, we're still coming out of that. I mean, there's so many of our clients, including ourselves, that focus on the word comfort, which is important. But I think we've swung the pendulum so far and stopped putting effort into like the way that we showed up and the way that it was affecting my confidence on screen. Because I was like, oh gosh, I hope they don't like ask me to stand up, or I hope I don't have to get up and get a glass of water. They're going to see I'm in sweat. Whether we like it or not, it was impacting the way that we show up. And that's just one example. I'll let Laura kind of share a little bit more, but that's like when we think about the impact of not putting effort into yourself, and then you start doing that day after day after day, it's like no wonder people don't want to get dressed anymore.
There's just a practical reality that when you get dressed, it personally impacts the energy that you bring into the room, and that energy is driven by how do you feel about yourself on the inside. Clothes help with that. And so, as Jack was sharing about 2020, maybe that resonates with a lot of your audience, Cass, but we frankly just weren't getting dressed. Like, I was wearing spandex biker shorts on the bottom and a blazer on top,
Yeah.
rolling into meetings. And sure, I was comfortable, but that comfort frankly brought complacency, and that changes the energy that you deliver when interacting in business, in your home life, your relationships with friends and spouses, partners, whatever. And it directly impacts your results, your personal self-esteem and self-confidence. And really a big part of our job is to really help draw that connection for men and women around the role that style can play in that energy that they're bringing in the way in which they're showing up.
Yeah. No, I love that you talked about, I have a friend who calls it the half suit, and she loves it for doing webinars and stuff. And I told her, like, oh, I'm the opposite. I actually, especially those who know me from career coaching side, know I always talk about for virtual interviews, you dress the full part down to the shoes because you feel different. You feel different, especially for women, like putting those heels on and sitting there in your suit like this compared to I've still got slippers on my feet. Like, it's a different energy. And going to what you said too, I'm like, you never know. If I fully believe in Murphy's Law, that'll be the moment where I go, oh, wait, I have to get up and get something. And now they see my plaid pajama bottoms on. But it's like, no, that doesn't work. But what are your thoughts on how that style gives a first impression to others? Like, can you change the way someone perceives you with how you dress?
100%. And we coach that all the time for our clients. I'm going to throw out a number. The number is 7. It takes 7 seconds, and some people say even less, for people to make an impression. Yep. To make an impression about who you are, your capabilities, and what you can offer. 7 seconds or less. You obviously cannot control entirely what somebody thinks of you, but there are elements that you can control. And the way in which you show up, the clothes that you put on your body, the way you communicate, the way you interact in that 7 seconds can really make or break you. We don't have to like that. Sure, we would all love to live in a world where, yeah, you don't judge a book by a cover, but we do. We're humans. We do. You can fight it, or you can mitigate it through strategies like the clothes that you put on your body and the way that you show up.
I agree on that. I always say, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
We're not saying that you dress for other people, or we're not saying that you fulfill your own internal self-esteem based on what other people think of you or whether they like your outfit. That's the complete opposite of what we're saying. You are responsible for building your own internal self-esteem, and you're responsible for building the skills and getting the experiences to build your own confidence. And that's what we believe in elevated images, are those two things, your confidence. But once you have those things, you believe in yourself, you have the skills to back it up, the outfit is simply the cherry on top. Because if you have the skills and you have the self-esteem, and then you walk into a networking room in an outfit that's uncomfortable, in an outfit that maybe doesn't fit you well, so you're constantly like pulling at it or fussing with it, an outfit that you're like, oh gosh, I wish I dressed a little bit more, oh gosh, I wish I dressed down a little bit more. You are so distracted, you're not able to demonstrate, most likely effectively, the skills and really let your self-esteem show. So that's why we're like, the clothes are not going to fulfill your self-esteem. They're not going to fulfill your confidence. They're simply meant to be the cherry on top, because people can make impressions so quickly. You want them to have a chance to see your self-confidence, to see your self-esteem shine. But if they're either distracted by your outfit, unfortunately, your self gets it.
That goes to something like, there's networking advice out there around like, wear something really out there. Like, there's some girl, I guess, in town who's wearing a tiara or a crown or something to networking events. And I know immediately she got told some crazy advice about like, wear something that's a conversation starter. But all that does to me is go, I just think you're crazy, and I'm not going to approach you, because I don't want to ask about the elephant in the room of like, why do you have a crown on your head? And so can be. I like that you brought up the distracting factor, both for yourself if you're uncomfortable and to other people, because I think sometimes on the distracting to other people, there's just this misinterpreted advice of like, wear something. We see it in a lot of female conferences now where it's like everyone's wearing stuff to like kind of a crazy like runway level that isn't them. And I am distracted by the outfit they're wearing. And also, it's very glaringly obvious of like, you don't feel comfortable, and I don't think I'm getting the real you in that moment. You know, it's one thing to wear like a bright color that someone can compliment you on. It's another to wear something that just doesn't feel right, but someone told you got to be kind of put yourself out there. And it's like, but if that's not who you are, don't do it. Does that make sense? Like, I know people who are fine showing up in a fuchsia pink suit, and I think that's great. And then I see other people try to emulate them, but they're so uncomfortable. It's distracting in its own right.
Cass, I love everything that you just said. There, there is so much pressure and influence across all things, but especially fashion. I mean, honestly, we experience that every single day. We log into Instagram, most of us, right? We scroll a feed, we see what people are wearing, where they're not. Oh, I should be wearing that too. Regardless, if I actually feel like it's me, regardless if it's actually the best color for me, regardless if it actually fits my body. When we work with women and men, we really honestly pride ourselves in a very personalized experience. We want to get to know you. What is your lifestyle? What do you like? Analyze your colors, your body type to help you identify what are the best pieces for you specifically. Because there is nothing worse than showing up uncomfortable in your own skin because you're wearing something that is just not you, right? And so if there's anything that we could like honestly relay to people is you do not have to be somebody that you're not. You don't have to put on a crazy ball gown to get the respect and attention. There's a careful balance in choosing pieces that are authentic to you, also elevating your credibility. And that's the goal for us, especially for women and men who are out there trying to grow and build businesses.
So, I love that you said elevating your credibility. What are ways that one can elevate their credibility and how they show up?
So I think the first is, we'll just hit close first. I know it may not be like the most important thing, but I think this is what Laura shared is like why we start with the education first is because if you know what colors work for you and if you know what works for your body and you know the image that you want to project out into the world, like if you want to project that you are a serious business person, that you have years of experience, that you are looking for other serious companies to partner with, you're probably not going to show up in like a tutu to a party, right? Like, or a networking event. And I'm not like bashing this here. I'm just saying like that's not,
Right.
because that doesn't reflect the image that you are trying to project. So when Laura says like we get to know our clients, like that is a critical question. It's like how are you looking to show up? If you're looking to be fun and playful, absolutely wear the tutu. But if that's not the image you're trying to project, we have to start again from the drawing board. So it really does come down to like, let's lay down the foundation. What are the colors? What works for your body? What can you afford? What's in your budget? And how do you want to show up? Because a lot of clients will share like, well, I get compliments when I wear bright colors. And the reality is a lot of people compliment bright colors because the color's wearing the person who's not wearing the color. Once you start wearing the colors that work for you, people are going to notice you and like, oh, wow, your outfit's great. They're not going to notice the outfit. Right. And that's what our goal is. We want people paying attention to your face and what you're saying, and the outfit is just complementing that. So other things that elevate your image, really what we talk about with clients, and this is a little bit more on like the professional side. I mean, really basic things, Cass, but honestly, these are the things that can go by the wayside very quickly if someone is uncomfortable or someone is nervous. Eye contact, open-ended questioning, genuinely, authentically listening, and not just thinking about the next thing you're going to say. How are you going to, when someone asks you what you do for a living or what's your company, how are you going to share what you do or what you're looking for in a concise, persuasive, and interesting way? What else, Laura? What else am I missing?
I would say that also applies, frankly, in written communication as well.
Absolutely.
There's a reality that oftentimes before you even personally step in a room where you're physically present, you've had multitudes of interactions virtually. either on video, but especially written communication. These rules, guidance, coaching applies even in written form. How do you actively listen by reading what it is the other person is saying? How do you engage in an authentic way and make people feel seen, heard, and welcome, even when it's through written communication? So we'll often, yes, well, we style men and women. If we dig deeper, we hear things like, hey, I'm just not quite getting the business result that I want. I need new outfits because that's the roadblock. We will dig further and typically uncover tremendous professionalism opportunities in the way in which that they engage with other people that frankly undermines their credibility, their professional presence, and let's just say it, likability, because likability does matter. You don't have to like that, but it does matter in business.
Yeah. I love that you keep saying that you don't have to like that, because that's been my thing with in my past working in career coaching. People love to complain about, oh, well, it shouldn't matter how I show up. Well, it does. Oh, it
It
shouldn't
does.
matter how much makeup I wear. Well, it does. We can keep fighting about it, or we can just fix this, go to the solutions of this is the way the world works, right? What and thank you for sharing some of those other things. For those who maybe have not heard the other episodes in the series, you might want to go take a listen, because we maybe talk about some of those eye contact responses, active listening, and those ones. So we're all on the same page. I am curious. I don't even quite know how to ask this. I'm just going to give a little bit of situational context, and I think you two can go with it. Like, I think sometimes when people hear us talk about, like, oh, the way you dress matters, how you present yourself to the world matters. To those who maybe don't love clothes the way some of us do, don't love style that way, they hear, so do I have to get dressed up every time I go to the grocery store? What would you say in terms of like presenting yourself situationally, like day-to-day basis versus, going to a conference and meeting new people? Like, do you have thoughts on how you put yourself out there in the everyday?
I think it starts first with a very candid conversation, oftentimes that we have with clients. How do you feel in your body? How do you feel in the way that you are showing up every day? It is not uncommon for us to hear, like, I just feel like I'm stuck, like I'm in a rut. I don't know, I'm just not feeling quite like myself. 99.9% of the time, that response, when we dig, is driven by the fact that they don't get dressed. And sometimes it's creating that connection for clients that, hey, when you don't get dressed, can we potentially believe that that has some level of impact on the way in which you feel? And I say that, Cass, because I could tell you, like, oh, here's how you get dressed, like, for every day.
Right.
But what's deeper is tying it to why it matters for you.
Mm-hmm.
It matters for you because it changes the way you feel. It changes the way in which you perceive yourself. I bet that if, like, every single person that's listening to this right now truly reflected the times that they felt the best, they probably remember what they were wearing. It was one of their best outfits. It wasn't about the situation. It was about what it is that was happening and the way that they showed up that impacted the way that they feel. Certainly, like, for us, it's like we start there with clients. Like, how do you feel every single day? And the clients that are really struggling, typically it's because they don't get dressed. Then we back into, okay, let's start getting dressed and let's do it in a way that's realistic for you. Because if it's not realistic, you're not going to do it. It is probably not realistic for you to go get dressed in like jeans and a blazer to go to Trader Joe's for your weekly shopping.
Right.
But maybe what's realistic is like really great athleisure outfit that is pulled together with some statement sneakers and some jewelry that makes sense for you. So it starts first with how do you feel, and then what's realistic based on your lifestyle. You don't have to show up in a certain way to be somebody that you're not, because that's going to make you feel worse.
I can't emphasize more what Laura said about like going back to the way you feel. Like, we had one of our first clients, incredible woman, stay-at-home mom, 2 kids, and she had gone through some, body changes, as all our bodies change as we evolve and grow and get older. And we spent a lot of time with her, working through body image insecurities, getting her the right clothes that were conducive to her lifestyle, her fit in her budget, were appropriate for every day, date nights. And she had to drop something off at my house after we were finished, and she had on like, it was like in the summer, she had on like this pretty sundress and like wrapped like sandals that like lace up your ankle, which she actually told me she would never wear. She ends up loving these. She was like, because that takes too much effort. And I was like, wait till you put them on, they're fine. You'll get used to it. And I was like, oh my gosh, you look beautiful. Like, what are you doing today? And she was like, I'm just running errands today, but I feel great. And it's like, that is the point of everything we do. Now, did she spend 90 minutes in front of her mirror getting dressed? No, she doesn't have time for that. But she was like, I'm going to put on a little makeup. I'm going to put on my sundress, tie up my lace up sandals, pull my hair back, and go. We get a lot of times questions from clients. Like, they'll put on an outfit, they'll look in the mirror, and they're like, oh my gosh, I love this. I love how I look in it. I love how I feel. And then their next question, which breaks Laura and I's heart every time we hear it, they'll say, but where will I wear this? And we're not talking fancy sequin ball. We're just talking like basics. And we're like,
Right.
you can wear this anywhere. So I think
Right.
it's like, but it's training them. It's starting small of like, just make a little bit of an effort. Like, if your outfit today is leggings and a t-shirt, make sure the t-shirt is cropped at your waist so you can shine your waistline, put on a pair of earrings and go out the door. Maybe the next day it's jeans and a tank top and a cool sandal, right? Like, it's little things, but once you start putting in just a little bit of effort, it's like you become addicted to that feeling, and then you don't want to go back to wearing the stuff.
So
Yeah.
it is honestly often driven by, that question of like, well, where will I wear it? Right. And it's a really great outfit. And we'll say anywhere, life, the grocery store. And it's like, well, that's not what people wear to the grocery store. Well, since when is there a dress code, A, for the grocery store? But B, why are we choosing what we wear based on maybe a perception from somebody else, but inside it makes you feel good? Like, at what point did we as women and men make that decision that that is going to dictate what we put on our bodies and ultimately how we feel about ourselves? What if we flipped that narrative to say, I'm going to show up to the grocery store in jeans and a t-shirt and cute shoes and feel great, and maybe inspire others to do the same?
Yes.
When I feel great, when I shine, we say this all the time, when I shine, everyone else shines. That could not be more true in this world. And people really actually take that in more often than not as inspiration than anything else.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. You go to the grocery store and inspire people, everyone. Like, do it. Well, it's interesting you say that because there was a girl I saw. I was walking into Kava one day, and this girl was walking out, and she just looked cute. She had on like a cute t-shirt with a cute flowy skirt, a little side purse. She looked very French. She had like a bob. She looked French. And I stopped and I turned and I said, excuse me. I'm like, you just need to know this looks adorable. I'm like, you look so good. You need to know you look good. And I first walked away. This is maybe, but some people aren't going to like this story. I don't care. I first walked away and was like, man, what happened to compliments? We need to compliment people more. Why don't we compliment more? And then I realized, no, I've always been a person who compliments. That's just who I am. It's the family. I can't help but be like, I love your necklace or I love your shirt or whatever. I went, no, I just don't see much I want to compliment anymore. Because I don't see many people walking out of Kava looking like she did. And I'm like, I don't see people in a grocery store wearing things that I go, those are cute shoes. Where'd you get those? Because people aren't being inspiring. And that girl at Kava was inspiring. So it goes to what you're saying in my head of like, yeah, we just be the one who's doing it. And it doesn't mean you're in an evening gown. I think the way I think about it, if you are going to go on the external side, and you can tell me I'm wrong in this, but my whole thing has been like, my company is called One Hello because one hello can lead to a million opportunities. You don't know where the one hello will come from. So you don't know when you'll meet somebody. So like, I don't have to be dressed to the nines, but I don't want to feel uncomfortable. I don't want to feel like I can't go say hi. Like, what if I show up somewhere and I meet someone, who I do want to say hi to, and now I'm scared to? Or really an in real life example, it was a Saturday morning at 7:30. I had run out to do errands. I had on black stretch pants and a tank top like athleisure, but I put on a leather jacket with a hood. All my skincare was done. I did not have on a stitch of makeup, but at least I was glowy. Hair was done. I had like half gotten ready and been like, oh, let me go to the store. I'm in the cereal aisle and I'm looking at this man and he's looking at me. And ladies, I don't know if you also have hit this point where you go, that looks like a middle-aged version of so, and then you realize, oh, I am middle-aged. Oh, it's who I thought it was. We're adults. He is middle-aged now. It was a guy I went to college with in California. Both of us are from California. But I turned and I went, hey, are you so and so? And like, if I had been in my pajamas, I probably in a greasy bun, I would have been like, please don't notice me. So I say that to say, like, it doesn't mean you have to be done. I felt comfortable enough. Now, no makeup on for me, just for me. If that had been the head of a company I wanted to meet, probably would have introduced myself. But like to say hi to the guy from college, that was appropriate enough that I felt like, okay, I can go say hello. I don't know. Like, does that resonate with you of levels on that? Or you don't know when you'll meet someone? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, and there's this practical reality, like as you say that, Cass, there are absolutely people listening to this right now that aren't going to like what you just said in
Oh,
terms
for
of
sure.
like, I should just show up with whatever I want and people just love me and see me for me. And I I think all of us subscribe to that aspirationally. Sure, we would all love that. That is not the way that it works. So if you're disappointed in your business results, you're disappointed in maybe not meeting somebody that thinks you're great and wonderful and seeing you for who you are, right? Like if you are disappointed by anything, you take a step back and reflect on, am I leading with the image that I want to be leading with? Because that impacts my energy, it impacts the way that I engage. And it really just requires us to be a little bit honest and critical. You don't have to like it, but there is this reality that that's just the way it is. Like it is.
Mm-hmm.
It is the way that it is.
And I would say even if you're not disappointed, right? Like even if you're just like, well, this is like I project myself as like the hot mess express, like whatever you want to say. What if you actually like put in a little bit of effort? What could happen then? And so I think like we encourage people to do that too. Like even if you're like, well, everything's going okay. Like what if I actually did put in a little bit of effort? What if I
Yeah.
matched what if I match the person who is on my website, like who I went all out and did a branding shoot and all this stuff? Like, what if I showed up like that daily? Maybe I'm not in the
Yeah.
fanciest outfit, but maybe a little bit of that image that I'm still looking to project.
One other thing, I'd be curious your take on this. So, one thing I think is really interesting, I listen to a lot of male comedians, and it's fun hearing them
Same.
talk about, like, oh, we had to get dressed up for this wedding. And they all notice, oh, it was kind of fun getting dressed up. And Tom Segura loves talking about the horror. Have you guys heard this? His thing on airport dressing. So, for those listening, Tom Segura, comedian, he hates the way people dress in airports, that it's just the dregs of humanity. That he's like, what happened to people that they're coming in their pajamas, in their flip flops? And he said a woman was in a swimsuit in front of me in Miami, literally in a swimsuit. He's like, what are we doing here? And he realized, he said, I think it's a lack of hope. And I thought that was super interesting. I'm curious your thoughts on that. I'm surprising you with this one, but like I thought that was a really interesting connection because he was kind of equating it to back in the day, people dressed up at the airport of, oh, maybe I'll get upgraded, which FYI is still the case. If you look put together, you've got more chance of getting upgraded. But like maybe I'll meet someone on the plane. And now people are just like, I don't know what's going on in the world. Who cares? And they just show up. And he's equated it to a lack of hope. I'm curious if you have thoughts on it. If you don't, I'll cut this out. It's fine.
I think I don't know if I know if it's like hope. I think for the word that comes to me mind is just like it's the word like fine. Like it's fine. I'll just get throw on whatever to feel fine. And I feel as though some of the based off of like clients that we've worked with and based off of what we see, like it's what we're trying to get people to look at is like this is not all or nothing. Style is not all or nothing. You don't need to be decked out every second of every day, and you don't want to show up looking like you just rolled out of bed. So it's like like I'm going to Europe in a month. Like, am I gonna wear like a stiff pair of jeans digging into like my thighs for like the whole trip? No, but I am gonna wear like a comfy athleisure set that looks very put together with some jewelry, and my hair is gonna be done because I want to feel really good, and I want my daughter to. I'm also setting the example for my 8-year-old daughter of like this is how we show up. So I think it's like I know this skit well. I like Thompson. I think he's really funny. I look at it. I could see where he's tying in the lack of hope. I think it's you want to show up better for yourself. You owe it to yourself, and that it is not all or nothing. You don't need to go super fancy. Just put in some effort. Because if you were looking to meet a significant other or your next business venture, or if someone's famous or you're looking to get upgraded, would you want to be representing yourself the way that you are?
I think it's a little bit, and this might be controversial, so Cass, feel free to take it out. I think it's a societal reduction in standards. I think if we really think about across the board, especially post-COVID, there's been a tremendous reduction in standards across all things, not just style.
Yeah.
And debate about what should or should not be the standard, right? So, which is why I think, a lot of the things that we talked about, it's like, you don't have to like it, you don't have to believe it. We believe this to be true and pretty impactful for you personally, your self-esteem, which should be the primary reason, right? The primary reason that you elevate your style should be driven by how you want to feel about you. And then secondly, you will then reap the benefit in personal relationships, business relationships, honestly, your whole life. If you don't want that to be the standard for you, fine. But I do think that that is really the challenge that's happening from a societal perspective is just a tremendous reduction in standards.
I am going to use that phrase because yes, I talk about that all the time, but I don't think I've said it that way. A tremendous reduction in standards. Going to be writing that one down. Yes, because it is across the board. Kind of last questions, just some fun ones for you since you're my style people. Is there a style myth that you would like to bust?
Do you say myth?
Yeah. Sorry, hard on the internet. Myth.
I mean, there's many. I think the initial one that comes to my head is that black shoes go with everything is a myth.
Yeah.
Yes. Check out their Instagram. They have many a video on why you need a lighter colored shoe.
Also very controversial. Also very controversial topic. I would say trends aren't for everybody. And that's hard in the world that we live in right now. We're constantly bombarded with information and influence. But once you know how to dress for your body type, your colors, it's easier to kind of mute out the noise because there is a reality, like not all trends are made for everybody.
What is a go-to accessory people should have?
Earrings. And I say earrings, particularly in a world where we are often on Zoom. I'm not even wearing big ones today. I'm like defying my own, expectation, but they draw attention up to the face. And that's ultimately what we want people to pay attention to. We want people to engage with you. It is probably the most underutilized accessory.
You would love that. My mom hates not having earrings in. And when I'd come back from LA to be at her house, I would purposely, she knows this, I would purposely not pack earrings because I knew it would drive her crazy. And she'd go, we need to fix that. Let's go. And we would go buy I'd get new earrings. Okay, let's fix it. Let's go. Do you have an accessory?
I would say finding the right layered necklaces for you. So there's dainty jewelry is, really, really popular. And I think I have a necklace that I wear every day. I think there's dainty jewelry is lovely. I think when we layer necklaces, we look to add different textures and dimensions and materials. So choosing a few layered necklaces that are not dainty, that are either gold or silver, depending on your color palette, that could really spice up a simple t-shirt.
I know. I'm very jealous of your necklace game. I know I'm very bare today because I'm not good. This is the area I struggle. We'll need to talk offline of I don't know how to fix this problem. I don't know what to do here.
Big earrings. You have big earrings on, so it balances it. You look good.
Thank you. Yes, I'm always a big hoop girl. Have been forever. Always a big hoop. Talking about networking, is there one thing you would say to never forget before a networking event? And if not, that's okay. I know that one's a little out there.
I guess it's more or less this understanding that style helps you. So it could be very stressful for our clients. It's oh my gosh, what I'm going to wear? What is everybody else wearing? If you proactively plan and think through it, it actually is a really great starter, particularly if you nail it in a way that's not distracting or detracting from you. So we really try to encourage, let's plan out what you're wearing. Let's take that stress off the table and anchor to an outfit that makes you feel great and feel like you versus somebody that you're not.
Okay. So this sounds really basic, but I think sometimes people can get really nervous when it comes to networking events. And I was in sales for a very long time in corporate America. I used to practice out loud all the time. I would practice my intros. I would practice tough questions. I practice like my elevator statements. So it's like I would practice, like get comfortable just talking so that when you're going out there and someone asks you a question, it's not the first time you're hearing it and you're not just like this. So just get more comfortable with how you want to say things.
Again, I love when someone brings up the same thing I've said because it just reiterates, yes, it is important. I joke all the
Yeah.
time that in a hotel room before a conference, I'm pacing
Oh yeah.
saying, "Hi, my name's Cassandra. I'm a speaker, da 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 da." Like I go through the whole thing because the second
Yeah.
you go meet someone, you go, "Hi, what's my name?" Like, crap, what's my name? It's wild. So yes, you have to practice. I love that you said that. Okay, so thank you. I know we're over time. So thank you for being with me today, for sharing with all of us. Where can everyone find you? What's the best place to reach out?
So we're very active on Instagram, Shine Image Consulting. Please feel free to message us, or we're pretty active on there. We also do complimentary consultations where we meet with women and talk to them about their style struggles and how we can possibly help and support them. So those are complimentary. So we encourage women to sign up for.
Well, thank you both for being here. I appreciate it. Y'all go check them out on Instagram, and I'll see you in the next episode.
Thank you.